Okay. I guess the timer just decided to stop. Oh, man. Me and that timer are going to fight one of these weeks.
My money's on the timer.
Probably. Who am I kidding? All right. Welcome, everybody, to the BitHype Podcast / video TV show on YouTube thing. Where once a week, me and Ace here, we get together, we talk about video games and fun stuff and just kind of whatever we want to talk about because it's our show. Right. Suck it up. It's ours. But anyway, how was your week, Ace? You do anything fun?
Oh, it wasn't too bad. It was busy. I mean, I've been playing a lot of No Man's Sky, actually. And it's a game that when it first came out, before it came out, I was really excited about it. And then I came to the realization that, yeah, this is going to be another Spore. And, you know, when it first came out, it's my understanding that they did pretty well ruin it. But I bought it probably about a year afterwards, just couldn't get into it. And then this week I put tons and tons of hours into it, and I'm really enjoying it. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I've heard that they've really made a turnaround on that game. So
absolutely. And it's interesting to see, you know, as I've been following it on Steam, when it first came out, you know, they had poor ratings, and then, you know, it was mixed for a while, and now it's, you know, previously, you know, overall it has mixed reviews, but recently they're all positive and stuff like that. So good. It was just interesting to see those metrics change over time.
Yeah, I don't mind a game if it comes out a little crappy and they like patch it and actually make it good. Like I know No Man's Sky, they've done that. Titanfall 2, I heard, was a lot like that, where it started out really rocky and then they kind of picked up the slack and made it happen. But
I never played Titanfall.
I really enjoyed the first one. I never really got into the second one. Don't know why. I've heard it's a fantastic game. But yeah, I think in the past couple years they finally like killed the server to it. So now I don't think you can play it online anymore. But
you can play the second one still though, right?
Yeah. I think you can play the campaign just fine. It's just online multiplayers.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
What was I just gonna say? Oh, Valorant. I just, while we were getting ready to launch here, I updated my Valorant because I bought that, or I didn't buy it, obviously. It's free to play, but, which we'll talk about, right? But anyways, you know, I downloaded that before it came out when they had the, you know, the trial betas and stuff. And, you know, I fought to get a key, and it was a big deal for like a month. And then I hadn't heard of it since. And actually, like I said, just before we started the stream, I was looking at my desktop and I have like 1,000 icons, and one of them was Valorant. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get that, you know, updated and see what I think of it again.
Are you that guy with the like full page of icons?
Not usually, but on my streaming PC I have a lot. You know, I keep my logos on there. I keep, you know, I have a million games on this PC. Yeah. So normally no, but in this case, yes, I do.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm like as minimalist as possible. If I have like more than 5 icons on my desktop, it gives me anxiety.
Yeah, same here. I used to take the icons off. You know, you can just like hide the icons. Mm-hmm. I used to hide the icons completely because I'm usually, you know, that guy. But for some reason, not here.
Well, cool. Yeah, I didn't really get a chance to play much of anything this weekend. Those of you who are in the United States, it was Labor Day weekend, so most everybody got a nice 3-day weekend. I know some like food service people and gas stations, things like that, they didn't really get much of anything.
Right.
But yeah, I just more or less did things around the house. Pretty boring suburban husband life. But So, and yesterday it was nice. Went out to my family's place. They have a good bit of land, and me and the wife just like rode four-wheelers around and had a ball. And it was so nice outside. Like, finally, it's getting to where it's not 100 degrees outside. So, like, now's the time where me and my wife are like, oh yeah, let's go outdoors.
Yeah,
when
for sure.
when it gets over like 85, we're just kind of like, the air conditioning just feels so good.
I absolutely cannot stand heat.
Yeah.
You know, if it's honestly over 70, 72, it's too hot for me. So spring and fall are my big seasons to go out and do stuff. And, you know, I basically hide out in the summer. I'm probably outside more I guess I have to mow the yard and stuff, but by choice, I'm outside more in the winter than I am in the summer.
Yeah, same here. Although I hate the cold. Like, hate the cold. It gets below freezing. Like, I want nothing to do with it.
Oh, see, I love the cold. I couldn't. I would be far more likely to move to somewhere like Alaska than I would be to go down south or even to California where it's, they say it's perfect weather, but I have to disagree with them. Because
It's
like San Francisco, for instance, it's like, 68, 70 all year round. And that sounds awesome, but it's not hot enough to like go swimming.
Mm.
And it's not cool enough. Like it's in this weird middle ground that I don't personally care for. But any cooler and I'd be on board.
And that is our take on the weather.
It is indeed.
The Weathercast.
Right. So I guess we'll jump into our news stuff here. We talked a couple weeks ago about China and how they had implemented a 1 hour restriction. And I guess we didn't talk about it then, but I guess the 1 hour restriction is just on, on kids, I assume under 18. And they've already found a way to circumvent it. Basically what they're doing is if you're going to play a game, what is it? I forget it, right?
Honor of Kings.
Honor of Kings, thank you. Yeah, Honor of Kings. Which is a big game in China. I've never even heard of it, but it's a big game in China. And if they want to play a game like that, then what happens is they monitor your account and they can tell if you're, underage. I don't know how they enforce that, but I guess there's some way that they can tell, this person is underage. And so what they're doing is they're actually renting somebody else's account credentials and using that to play. Now, why you can't just create an account and say, oh, I'm, 58 years old. Like, Steam thinks I was born in like 1902.
Mm-hmm.
Why they can't do that, I don't have any idea. But they must have some kind of limiter on that they have to rent somebody's credentials to be able to do it. And then they can play as long as they want.
That's wild.
So, whatever.
Like,
as far as I'm concerned, I'm all about it. I just wish somebody wasn't making money off of it, because now kids are like spending all their allowance renting accounts for games that are free to play.
Well, it says right here they're required to enter their ID number, which verifies their age. So I'm wondering if Chinese games ask for almost like your social or something like that, like some sort of like personal identification.
That's risky then if you're the guy renting out your...
Yeah.
No. Am I going to rent out my social security number? I'm not so sure I want to do that.
Yeah, every gamer needs to log in with their real name, and every domestic game that legally operates in China is required to have that function. Yeah, that seems like they have to enter an actual like personal ID number, and that I don't know about that. Then again, I guess like stateside, we're way more. We say we're more picky about who has our information, but in reality, we have no idea.
I mean, the fact is I know.
Yeah.
Almost everywhere They have the that password thing now that Google does,
Mm-hmm.
and on Chrome, I'm sure other companies do. I just don't know enough about it to know who implements it, and whatever. But anyways, when you put in a password that somebody got a hold of at some point, then it'll come up and say, "You sure you want to use that password?" And I'm always just like, "Yeah, just it's fine."
I don't
They can
care.
watch my Netflix. I really don't care.
And speaking of some gray areas here, another article I saw this week, strangely from Kotaku as well, is resellers are charging people for games that are actually free. So honestly, this isn't really like new. This
Right.
has kind of been going on for a while. If you ever go to like G2A and some of the other like key sites and stuff like that, which I have never used them to get a copy of Windows 10 Pro for anything. Never ever, not once.
Uh-huh.
But
I'm taking notes.
yeah, the TSA or NSA is like taking notes. They're in the van out by the road here.
Right.
But
Down by the river.
Yeah, in the van down by the river. You youngins know nothing about that. But anyway, so essentially what's going on here is basically like key resellers, how it operates is they have a like actual software key. They sell you a copy of it. Whether it's legit or not has been like kind of a gray area. It's like, did they just use a key generator and it made one and it works? Like, who knows? Mm-hmm. But anyway, they sell it at a extremely discounted price, and basically to like their whole business model is we save you tons of money because you can buy a brand new game for $25 versus paying $60. Yep. So I believe it's called World of Darkness. Let's see. Now spotted by oh no, Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt. That game is due to release. I don't know when this article released, but it was apparently the next day. And resellers had keys for $20 on there. It's like, and some of the developers and everything were taking to Twitter and trying to make a PSA like, hey, don't, like this person, don't buy Blood Hunt, it's free. Oh Lord, open Twitter. But yeah, so but come on, stop it. But anyway, so yeah, just if a game releases, at least do your due diligence and look on Steam, look on Epic Games, make sure it's not free before you buy it. Like, right. And these keys,
you know what, honestly, I can't, I almost can't blame them. Like, yeah, I can from an ethics standpoint, because you don't want to, if you're selling something like that, you're obviously proving that you don't hold ethics in a high degree. But at the same time, like, if you're dumb enough to buy a free game, like, I'm all about it.
Yeah. I know a big scam, like, quite a few years ago when Blu-ray first came out, because, again, like, Blu-ray DVDs are more expensive than just standard definition DVDs. Mm-hmm. So you would like go to a laundromat or something, and there was always that sketchy guy walking around with a book bag full of DVDs, and he would sell you a Blu-ray DVD that was a blank disc with the name of a movie written on it, and it'd be like $5 a disc, and you're like, man, that's such a good deal. You buy it, bring it home, it's a blank disc. I mean, it's the same thing here. It's like, one, you better hope the key actually works. Two, why didn't you just, like, you could just Google the game and it'll tell you the price. Like, you don't even have to go to Steam.
Yeah, I mean, especially with a game like Vampire the Masquerade, if it's a game, and this article was released before the game was released, so you obviously have been following this game, the release date. I don't care about this game, and I knew it was free to play.
Yeah.
This game is so far off of my radar, and I still knew it was free.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. Probably kids, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a shame.
Yeah. Poor parents are going to have to like be bothered and call their credit card companies now. And
Right.
oh, man.
Actually, I have a friend of mine who had a similar, ungame related. Their kid accidentally purchased something for like $250 off of the Apple Store, and they never opened it. They never installed it. Apple would not refund it.
What?
Craziness.
That's wild. Oh man. If I was that kid, I would have been outside mowing every day all summer long. It's like, I mowed the grass yesterday. I don't care. Mow it again.
Yep. Have you out there with scissors.
I know, right? Oh, goodness. Anyway. So, our next topic here, it appears there's a glitch in Breath of the Wild.
Oh, and it's a beautiful one too. It's so basically it's a 10-step process to get this to happen, which surprisingly, the if you watch the video on YouTube, they talk about how easy it is. A 10-step process to make yourself fly doesn't sound easy to me.
No.
But basically, you're able to fly anywhere you want. You can speed up and fly really fast. So it's going to change a lot of speed runs. And as somebody who follows the Breath of the Wild speed runs, it's already amazing. I remember when the first person that I knew of that did a Breath of the Wild speed run, they completed it in 36 hours. And, I thought, wow, how could you... And I'm talking about 100% speed run. That's every... one of the shrines, that's every one of those little Karoks, that's everything. And now they're down to 17 hours, which is just insane. And it's going to go lower because of this glitch, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially any kind of, like, fly glitch. That's
Absolutely.
usually a big time saver.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and it's pretty cool. Basically, I guess what they call it, what do they call it? The bow... BLS, bow lift smuggle.
Oh.
And I guess somehow they use the bow lifting mechanic and they use bombs and somehow the bomb pushes you around or something. I didn't really, I'm not a speedrunner by any stretch. I just follow a lot of stuff with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If there is a video, I'm sure we can probably link it in the description. It's definitely worth watching. This guy's somewhat of a smaller channel. I think he has like 20,000 subs, but it's pretty neat video to watch and how it's done.
Yeah, and again, I know I've said this before on the podcast, but I just love seeing these updates to speedrun tech. And these people just bust these games wide open and find these exploits. It's awesome. Love it.
I'm honestly kind of surprised that it took 4 years to find this one.
Yeah, because
it seems like something that they could have known about earlier.
Yeah, yeah. Now that you say that, that is a little surprising because usually movement mechanics are the first thing you try to exploit because
yeah, absolutely.
You're especially a game like this, you're constantly running. Like you have to traverse a large map. Kind of like Super Metroid, like the guy that found out that flapping your arms up and down actually makes you move like 1 frame quicker. And it's like, yeah, that'll save you 0.1 seconds, but when you take like a 45-minute speed run, like that's seconds.
Right.
So, yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, and the last topic for today is a Kickstarter. So, we talked was it last week? I think it was last week. We're like rehashing a lot of stuff. But anyway, so a brand new Game Boy Advance game is going to be launching. The Kickstarter was fully funded. They were hoping for $24,925 as their goal, and they're currently at $208,000. Woo, they blew past that mark. But yeah,
they can send the extra to me.
Yes. Donations are always welcome. But yeah, so it's called Good Boy Galaxy. I'm guessing you're a dog astronaut that fights aliens.
Why not?
It's going to release with a physical Game Boy Advance cartridge. They are going to do a digital release, and it's also going to release on Steam. Yeah, I think it's a exploration game, like nothing that hasn't been done before, but the art style's really cool. It looks really good. The movement looks nice and fluid. Looking at the actual Kickstarter, it looks like the game was pretty much done. And judging by, the amount they were asking for the Kickstarter, it sounds like they did the right thing. They built the game, and then basically they're just using Kickstarter to fund actual production of everything. Because I have found out recently production costs are high.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just really cool. Like, I don't think there's been a Game Boy game released for 15, 20 years, something like that.
I wonder how they go about getting permission to do that. If they do, I'm assuming they do. Do you call Nintendo and just be like, hey, we want to put out a new Game Boy Advance title?
Well, I think where the Game Boy Advance has been discontinued,
Mm-hmm.
the hardware patent has probably expired, like the 10 years or whatever it is. It seems like hardware patents usually only last like 10, 15 years. It's like software based, it's like 99 years or something stupid.
Right.
So any actual hardware limitations they can get around by making their own, like, it might be a slightly different looking cartridge or something like that. I don't think that's going to be the case because I've seen Game Boy games and stuff like that released that look like actual Game Boy games.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as releasing on the Switch, I know you have to submit your game to Nintendo. They have to approve it before they'll actually sell it and all that good stuff. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. This is one that I am debating whether or not to actually back and pick up a copy. I think it would be a neat collection piece. Or, like, worst case scenario, I just buy it on Steam.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I actually just went through and thinned out a whole bunch of my collection because I never play it. So,
Right.
all right.
So, actually, I do have to point out that that's not an astronaut. That would be, I believe, a cosmonaut, because didn't the Russians send dogs into space and we sent monkeys? I think that's how it went.
I don't know.
And I think that on both sides, I think they were just left to fate. I think they launched them up with no intention of them ever coming back,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, knowing Russia, I'm surprised that they didn't send people up there with no way home.
We're gonna get to space and it's gonna be like space zombies. Bunch of dogs and like chimpanzees and
one Russian guy that we never knew about.
yeah. Named Vladov. But yeah. And kind of speaking of like coming up with these crazy scenarios. So I had the bright idea of making our main topic this week basically based off this one scenario. So that was weird. I just heard an echo. But anyway, so the way the scenario works, you have been endowed with these superhuman knowledge and abilities, but only when it pertains to making games. You can create your dream game, basically no holds barred. Like, cost isn't a concern, like hardware restrictions aren't a concern, none of that. Like, basically, you would just know how to do everything you need it to do to make your game a reality. And what would that look like? Do you
I think I would probably do some sort of a survival game. Honestly, I've been thinking a lot recently about how there hasn't been any really good survival games that have come out recently. I really liked Ark. I really liked Conan. And there's been a lot of attempts at space survival games. No Man's Sky. That was a plus, obviously. But recently, I mean, arguably Valheim, although it's okay. It's a good game, but it's not top shelf or anything. The graphics are very limited on it. So I think I would probably do something with a space survival game, maybe similar to No Man's Sky, but with more of a multiplayer aspect. And if we're talking, what would your ultimate game be? It would be a survival game with a procedurally generated environment, where you can just literally explore space. You could go out 1 million star systems if you really wanted to, and it's procedurally generated. Other players, some kind of, galactic war system. Like it would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think the closest thing to a good, like, space survival thing would be, like, StarCraft. I think that's what it's called. No.
StarCraft is the real-time strategy.
Yeah. Oh, what's that? Starbound.
Oh, Starbound. Okay.
Yeah. Where, like, it was basically, like, endless. Like, there were multiple universes or planets and things like that. I agree. I think that would be super cool.
Unfortunately, it'd be really hard to do because if you're talking about a game that's multiplayer and procedurally generated, you basically have to accept that you have to have unlimited server space because it's just going to grow and grow and grow.
Hey, Google, we're commandeering you.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, man.
So, speaking of that, actually, this is completely off topic, but it brings to mind that Microsoft had toyed with, and I don't know if they actually did it or not because I just stopped following it, but they had toyed with the idea of basically building these modular server rooms and sinking them in the ocean. And they would be like these big server banks. They looked like they were built into like semi-trailers, and then dropping them down into the ocean for the cooling aspects of it and stuff. I seriously doubt that ever happened, but
I mean, you could probably do that with like NVMe storage nowadays, because one, NVMe gets super hot and can actually throttle, its read and write speeds. But there's like no way you could do that with spin disk drives. Like, it would just murder them in an instant. Like,
right.
Same thing, like you couldn't even dip those in mineral oil because it caused the disc to spin so slow it wouldn't even read.
Well, I think the plan was to keep them sealed, airtight, and then
Gotcha.
I don't think overall it would be a good idea because how are you going to get down there and maintenance it? You would basically just write it off when something happened. So I don't think that it would be a good idea. I don't think it would happen, but
that would be kind of cool looking though.
Back to the subject anyway. That was my ADHD fit for today.
Hey, that is A-okay. I like going down rabbit trails. But yeah, so as far as like features of your game, are there any like mechanics or special features you'd like to see, like something different that you haven't seen done in survival games?
Maybe a combat system similar to like Ghost of Tsushima. With a combo-based combat. It seems like if somebody's going to take and make a survival game, it's basically you just swing your sword and that's it. Mm-hmm. Or shoot your gun, which is another thing. It would be space-based, but there wouldn't be any guns.
No laser rifles.
Right.
Pew. But yeah. So what kind of theme would you have for it where it's survival based? Would you have kind of like you're in space, so it's dark and like pretty quiet sort of thing, or
Maybe. What's the game? It would probably be the early exploration. Although I've never played early exploration because we don't really have a good example of it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of what Starfall is, or Starfield. I never remember which one it is, but regardless, that's what it's going to be, is early exploration. Where you're still using rockets, and I think that would be a cool period to run out of.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you have laser swords, so that makes perfect sense.
Star Wars, but different.
Right.
But yeah, so, and I was really excited when I came up with this idea, because this is something that me and a buddy of mine had talked about a while back, and just kind of like played around with an idea. And we came up with some stupid, ridiculous thing, of course, because, but I kind of took it a little more seriously and like got to thinking like what I would actually like to play. And it's funny, I know you have a love for survival games. Like, you played the crap out of Ark, had like probably, you said what, thousands of hours in it?
Yeah, like 8,000 hours.
Yeah, and like I got to thinking about like, man, what is something I had a ton of time in, and that's just flat out Metroidvanias. Like, I really cut my teeth on, Castlevania, Super Metroid, stuff like that. And I think I would make something like a Metroidvania, but with a little bit more like sandbox element to it. Like Terraria would be a really good example of kind of what I'm talking about. Because you were limited, you had to get better equipment, you had to get, different items to be able to access different locations. That kind of ties in with the Metroidvania aspect. Well, I would love to have like a 16-bit era like graphics. But a while back, there was this really cool mod they did where they turned NES games like 3D. And it added like a really cool, almost 2.5D like dynamic to the games. So I'd love to do something like that, because I feel like it would really like bring out the environment and stuff like that. So basically my idea is this. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic, like, barren world. And the world is run by some sort of organization that controls food and water supplies for the planet. Basically, like your stereotypical, the wealthy live lavishly, the poor are discarded in the slums. And you, the character, happen to be the smallest, weakest person in your settlement. But you have this like burning desire and like almost Moses mentality to set your people free. Like, you hate seeing your loved ones suffer. You want them to be able to live like the wealthy do. So you set out on an adventure to try and infiltrate, the enemy lair, do different things. And traditional Metroidvania, you get power-ups. But in this case, you're actually just getting a blueprint for a power-up. And you have to basically farm the world and use your brain to think about, like, hey, I need a control valve to make this thing. Where would I find that? Well, you would probably find it somewhere near machinery. So you would find, that machine-heavy area and look for that. And the world is like totally interactive to the point where when you get a power-up component, say like you turn the knob to get the control valve and it like comes off so that way you can take it. Well, then water starts flowing freely through this one area, and trees begin to grow, animals come around. It might eventually make a river that you would be able to traverse to get to a different area. And basically, through your actions, you're causing not just yourself to be able to go to different places, but you're actually causing different places to exist. Same thing with like the music. I think it would be really, really cool that it starts out with like a basic like drum beat, just like a do-doom, do-doom. And then as you get components and power-ups, it adds a little bit to the music. So like you might start getting a little bit of acoustic guitar laid in there. You might start getting some keys, stuff like that. And basically that's just there to kind of symbolize that you're making change in the world. Like you're actually affecting how things operate. I just love those really neat little things that people realistically probably don't care about, but when you discover it and you think about it, you're like, oh, okay, these things actually had a reason for being in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and that's basically the whole gist of things. And kind of like in Super Metroid, like the game may reward you for trying to like boundary break.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly this is just for my love of the speedrunners, and I would love to see somebody just like completely destroy my game. But basically, like the most obvious path may be the most difficult. Like you may be able to just run straight to, the head of the organization, but you're gonna die on the way there because you just don't have what you need. However, if you take the time to like master the skills of the game, you'll be able to get to places you didn't think you would be able to, get power-ups there, and just kind of like, break the game. But yeah,
that's definitely deeper than I went with my space survival.
It was one of those things I just kind of like got to pick it around in my head, and I'm like, ooh, that's cool. Oh, that's really cool.
Right. And it's funny, actually, it goes back to, I think, our first episode where we talked about, what do you like in a game? Obviously, you're showing your thought and the story and stuff like that. Whereas I just want to slice somebody up with a sword.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's the awesome thing about video games is it's like people want different things, so like everybody wins.
Like, yeah, absolutely. And you know what, honestly, what I haven't seen yet in a game is a crafting system that I am just 100% thrilled with. Like you mentioned what you were talking about with your valve and taking the valve back off and stuff like that. Like, I'm so tired of a stick and a rock.
Yeah.
Making an axe and a pick and, whatever. I would love to see a more in-depth crafting system. And honestly, one of the best resource systems was on the original Star Wars Galaxies, which was, I mean,
oof, that's
15, 20 years ago. 2003, I think. And they had, their system was where you had to go and you would survey and find places that had like a high say you're looking for a steel.
Mm-hmm.
A different steel in real life is going to work for armor than is going to be good for guns, than is going to be good for making a starship. And so every mineral there, every resource had multiple different things, how hard it was, whether it was a ferrite metal or all that kind of stuff. And you would have to go out and find the exact metal that you're looking for, and they would change, so they're not just always available. And you would have to find them, and then you'd put down a miner, and you'd have to find something to power the miner with, and it was a really involved process to craft. And that's, I think, the first place where I really got into a crafting system was with that game, and I haven't seen anything quite like that since.
Yeah. Yeah, now that I think about it, like every game like that I've played, I've hated the craft system.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I just love crafting so much.
Mm-hmm.
Playing No Man's Sky, I'm just spending, probably in a regular day where I'm awake for 16 hours, I'm probably spending 5 or 6 of them just going around finding, the different minerals that I need to make stuff. But I like it when you have, not only do you have to find, iron, but you have to find iron in a certain quality and a certain hardness. And
Yeah, that would be really cool. That, and you have to like found your own like steel and iron. It's like if you take these metals and mix it this way, you get this special metal sort of. Yeah, that would be really cool. And actually harden things.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So yeah, that's what I would do. Now, visual wise, I think that the survival game that I would wish I could make, it would have the best top-notch graphics. I could, some places I could deal with. I really like Octopath.
Mm-hmm.
And how they did the graphics in that. Absolutely love it. Terraria's great. So there is a place for those kind of graphics, but just to go back to place or Super Nintendo graphics for the heck of it, that's like Valheim. That's the one thing that really pains me about that game is it just looks so, low res that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I'd have to throw in something like the 2.5D aspect where, your view instead of just being straight on might be slightly tilted, but there will also be like command prompts where you can go behind something. Like there might be another wall, you go behind it, go over, you might be able to go into a sewer line. Stuff like that. Like I'd have to change it up because Metroidvanias have just been done to death. Like I think the best Metroidvania that's come out in a long time has been Hollow Knight. Not because they like
I haven't played it, so
yeah, not because they completely reinvented the wheel, but mainly just like the art style of it. It was so different than any other Metroidvania that, people loved the environments. Like everything was dark, it was dreary, like and again, things had purpose. Like you were going through kingdoms that had fallen, and when you went through it, you're like, yeah, things went real sideways here.
right.
But yeah, this is not good. It's not fine. But
oh, you know what? I was thinking when you said Hollow Knight, what I was picturing in my head was Shovel Knight.
Oh, completely different.
Yeah, completely different. I was like, I don't know if that is a Metroidvania.
That's not dark and dreary.
Right. So I had to look it up. Never played either of the two.
Yeah.
So I can't say, but
yeah, and Hollow Knight's very unforgiving, and they threw in a kind of Dark Souls mechanic where when you die, you lose all your money, and you have to like go find your soul where you died and kill it, so that way you can get like all of your stuff back.
that's rough.
I don't think you lose like your weapons or anything. I think it's just currency, but yeah, that, and there was another one that was released a little while back. I think it's a Iconoclast, something like that. That one was pretty good. But other than that, it was like anytime you picked one, even Axiom Verge, you picked it up and it's like, this game's cool, but it's Metroid 1.
And that's honestly why I haven't picked that up. First of all, full disclosure, I don't like Metroid. I love watching people play Metroid. I can't personally do it. The whole side scroller thing is just not my style. And platforming and all that kind of jazz, like, just don't care for it. I appreciate the game.
Yeah.
And I would gladly rock like a Samus shirt or something like that because I appreciate it. But I can't play them. I don't have the patience. But that being said, things like Axiom Verge and stuff like that, if I was gonna play something like that, I would just play Metroid.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
And I think Kay Willery, I know this was a while ago, but I think he had the best idea. It's Celebration Shopping Survival Horror, where you get all the best prices while fighting a horde. So add dating sim to that, and you've got me.
Isn't that Left 4 Dead? You're in a shopping mall and you gotta buy your chainsaw so you can kill the horde.
Right, exactly. You ever have a game, and Left 4 Dead is this game for me, and I know, again, yeah, I'm going to stop saying we're going off topic, because
that's fine.
I'm going to change my name from Ace to Off Topic. But you ever have those games that you don't like just because when that game came out, everybody was playing that and not what you wanted to play? Left 4 Dead is that game for me. Beyond the fact that I hate zombies, and I'm sick of zombies. When Left 4 Dead, the first one, came out, I don't even remember. I want to say maybe I was in a Diablo 2 stage, or, I can't tell you what I was playing at the time, but all I wanted to play was that game, and all anybody else wanted to play was Left 4 Dead, and I got so mad that still to this day, I've played maybe 20 minutes of Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, it was really weird. That game got traded in a lot when I worked at the game store. Like, a lot. And we couldn't keep it on the shelf. It was like people were just so sick of playing it, they would trade it in, and then it seemed like within a couple days someone else was walking in. You got Left 4 Dead too?
Wow. That's crazy.
But I don't know if I've got one of those games where I hate it because everyone else is playing it. Oh, nope, Destiny. Yep. 100% Destiny.
Destiny was that way for me. When it came out, at the time I wasn't really gaming that much, but I did have, quite a few friends who played it, and that kind of irked me. But at the same time, my wife was really into it. And so she kind of took over my profile. So I just didn't play it very much. It didn't appeal to me. And recently I just picked up Destiny 2 and played it a little bit. It was all right. Yeah. I wasn't missing much.
I have got a sealed copy of Destiny 2 on disc before it went free, still on my shelf. Because, yeah, and probably more specifically Destiny 2 than Destiny 1, because that's when I was in the height of my Borderlands 2 kick, and all of my buddies that used to play Borderlands 2, I was like, hey guys, I'm finally good at this game, let's play it. And they're like, nah, I want to play Destiny.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, that's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. But yeah. Man, it was almost League of Legends almost was that way for me. I had a friend of mine who, skipped out on playing StarCraft with me because he discovered League of Legends, probably 5-6 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I almost never played that game, but it would have been better because I'd still have $1,500 that I don't have now. But
yeah, that League of Legends was a game, I tried hard to get into it, and I just couldn't do it. Not because the community was toxic. Well, competitive is absolutely toxic.
There's nothing about that game that's not toxic. And you're talking to somebody who likes League of Legends.
Yeah.
The player base sucks. Everybody, including myself, is just an angry teenager.
Get good, awful. Scrub. But
the thing about it is somebody like me, I'm not a toxic player, and I guess a toxic player would say they're not a toxic player, but truly I'm not a toxic player, with the exception of 2 games, and that's StarCraft, which I'm extremely toxic at, and League of Legends. And StarCraft, the reason why I'm toxic is because I do well at it, I excel at it, and so when I'm playing with family members or friends and stuff like that, I just want them to listen. I know what I'm doing. But League of Legends is literally just because of the community, because you get sucked into that where you're playing, trying to have fun, and you make a mistake, and that makes you mad because everybody else is going to start yelling at you, and so then you become toxic, and that's just kind of the way it goes, I guess.
Yeah, and then it just turns into Facebook at that point. Everybody's yelling at everybody.
Yep.
Oh, man. Yeah.
The spirals in that game are insane, or you can go and you're winning, and somebody says something, or somebody makes a play that another player disagrees with, and he starts throwing, and it's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
We were having fun, we were winning, and all of a sudden everybody's at everyone's throats, and I've never seen, in any game I've ever played, I've never seen a more toxic crowd than League of Legends.
Yeah, and that, unless you're playing with people like, that's not a game you can just, like, pick up and practice. Because,
oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, when you're trying to level up and stuff, it's like everybody gets so mad that you're new. And it's like, well, if you would tell me how to play
and the worst
game.
part about it is, these people are yelling at you. You're all in bronze.
Yeah.
And they're just as bad as you are, but they think because they've played it more that they know how. And the funny thing with MOBAs in particular is that the things that matter most are the things that you don't suspect. Like, the most important thing isn't CS. The most important thing isn't how many kills you get. It's like positioning and knowing how to get yourself in the right position. Seeing forward and stuff like that. And so everybody, when something falls wrong, they're quick to be like, oh, you haven't been CSing, or, you should have got that kill or whatever. But the real problem is, like, 20 minutes ago, he was in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
And so nobody gets any better. They just yell at everybody.
Yeah, and, like, the worst part is, like, I would have, and this is one of the things that caused me to just stop playing. There was one character in particular that used a bow and arrow, and I can't remember the character's name.
Ash, Varus, something.
Ash.
Okay.
Yeah. And I loved playing Ash. And I would always play bottom Ash, because that's where she was good
Ash
at.
went, yeah.
Yeah. And, like, I'd start a game, and then somebody in chat would be like, oh, another bottom Ash, I'm out. And then they'd drop. And I'm like, thanks, jerk.
Where would they have you play Ash?
I know. I was like, I'm not playing top. I'm not playing mid, that's for sure.
there are periods in that game where, and I don't know. I'm not an Ash fan. I'm not an ADC player at all, but there are periods in that game where weird things happen. Like, I know Ash top was a thing for a while, and Ash
weird.
mid was even a thing for a while, and my brother, who is a diehard jungle, he even Ash jungled for a piece there. So, I realized that certain players have been moved to certain other lanes and stuff, but Ash bottom has been pretty acceptable no matter what. Now, she might not have been, S tier, but who cares? Let somebody play their game. If they want to play Ash, whatever, they play a little safer, I guess.
Yeah. And the bad thing is, like, most of the time I played, like, I was, not always top, but I was pretty high up the board. Like, I always dealt pretty good damage. Like, I'd start taking up the side, and then I'd hop over through jungle, start helping mid where I could. Just doing little things, but I always did well. Like, it was never a, complete wash where I was bottom, just sucked it up, everything killed me. It was like, no, I was a decent Ash.
Right.
I
was always mid or top. Honestly, I was best at mid, but I was by far happier on top. You could just hide out on top and not die, and you were a good top.
Yeah, mid got too crazy for me. Like, there were a few times, like, I'd try mid, and I'm just like, nah, this isn't for me.
I think ADC is probably the hardest. So if you did well at ADC, I mean, you should revisit the mid.
Well, maybe,
ADC is the one that I just never could get the grasp of it. Trying to deal all your damage with with auto attacks was just too frustrating for me for some reason.
I get it. Oh man, but
We kind of jumped around today, huh?
hey, that's okay. We actually blew through our doc really quickly.
All right, everything since like 20 minutes ago, everything in the last 20 minutes has been just stuff that came up.
It's like we started on the main topic, and I looked down, and I'm like, oh crap, we've only been streaming 30 minutes. Whoops.
That's all right. We can fill in time with the best of them.
Exactly. I'm an expert procrastinator, so I can drag something out if need be.
That's right. It's like the old Far Side comic. They had a guy that had a sign, "Procrastinators of the world meet tomorrow."
Oh man, but well, I think I have completely run out of steam, so this might just be a short podcast.
Yes, indeed. And if anyone has an idea that they think is just the top idea for a video game, I'd love to hear it. Put it in the comments section.
Yeah, hit us up in comments, like anytime during the stream. If you have any sort of insight or input, like absolutely jump in there. Like fortunately for us, we're so small that we can probably answer every question and hit every topic that someone puts in there.
That's right. I think we have the time.
Yes. Considering we're ending the stream like 30 minutes early. But yeah, absolutely. Like, you're never going to be an interruption or an annoyance or anything like that. We love chatting with you guys. Like, it makes me so happy to see Kay Willery in the chat every week. Like, you are awesome. You're one of the reasons that we keep this going. So, all right. Well, I think we have said everything that we can think of to say without being boring. So we're going to go ahead and sign off. Yeah. Yeah, we're just going to start like throwing out all the curse words, all the crude topics.
Talking politics, religion, you name it.
Yeah.
Certain diseases that may or may not have existed in the last year and a half.
Yeah. That's crazy. Crazy one word can just get you flagged and like, ugh, whatever. Anyway, thank y'all for coming out, hanging out with us, and we'll see y'all next week. See y'all.
See you guys.